Welcome live stream. About to go live. If you have any comments or questions, hit them in the chat, and we'll talk about them after we talk about the regular stuff.
Sounds good. Today on Bingers Assemble, we're talking. Oh, actually, I should look up the episode name. I always forget to do this. I just typed in Bingers Assemble episode names.
Oh shit! Sorry, I just had a feedback loop happen in my headphones. Whew.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Today on Bingers Assemble, we are talking about Altered Carbon, Season 2, Episode 7, Experiment Perilous. Oh shit, I had a thing. All right, just cut out that silence and I'll come right back in.
Yep.
Kel is an elder. Trek is Kovacs.
Trep. It's Trep, Kovacs.
Trep, Kovacs. Falconer is an elder. Trep is Kovacs. Nobody is what they... no, let me do that one more time. Falconer is an elder. Trep is Kovacs. The governor is an absolute monster, and nothing is what it seems. All that and more after this commercial break we have no control over.
Chickity check. Welcome to Bingers Assemble. Today we're talking about Altered Carbon Season 2, Episode 7. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I'm Matthew S. Fox.
How you doing, buddy?
I really just want to hit play and go watch Episode 8. Waiting till Friday is going to be quite a struggle.
Right? Yeah, it really is. This was a cool episode. Lots of cool stuff set up. I am a little annoyed at it. Okay, I guess we should say this is the episode where basically most of the action of the episode happens inside VR, where they use a bunch of technobabble to have a VR fight before they have a fight in the real. It's basically they have to get in to separate Falconer from the elder personality that is inside of VR, which we get finally confirmed. Although the thing that annoyed me about this episode is that I feel like we knew that really early on. They almost tilted their hand too much, like this. And then they treated it like a huge surprise here. They were like, it's the big reveal. We talked in an earlier episode about what's the secret going to be that's going to tie back to that first episode, because that's what they did last season with the dead girl. And,
right.
and like we knew they were going to tie something to the first episode, and it was going to be like a reveal when Kovacs figured it out. And this time they did the thing where he's like, I'm not here for you. And he was like, oh, that was the first thing she said to me when she beat me up in the first episode. And then his solution was, she's not her. And it's like, wait, we knew that. Like, we've known that this whole time, and we even knew that it was an elder, because they even had they showed the elder tying her up in like the second episode when she's being dragged under. And I was just like, I don't get why this is new information, or why the show is treating it as a surprise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that. Maybe I just wasn't, I certainly thought there was a good chance that she was an elder. I didn't think it was 100%. So I wasn't annoyed. I very much had it. I was really excited to be like, oh my God, we were right. We figured it out. And I also thought that this episode revealed so much more about who the elders were, what happened with the founders. I'm not invalidating you're being frustrated, but I think I definitely didn't feel that. I thought this was a great way to pay that off.
Yeah. I feel like they could have done some things earlier in the season to, if they had just never shown us Kel's inner life, like the fact that Kel was being tied up by something and there was a different version of Kel inside of her, all that stuff that they keep showing us that to me gave the game away. They could have never shown us any of that, and I think I definitely would have been surprised by this at least. But it's fine, not a huge deal, but whatever.
I will say I loved that part a lot more than you did. I did get annoyed by one thing though, and I don't want to just talk about what we're annoyed by, but we can start off there. It shows we're bringing a critical eye. We're not just fanboys. I don't want the elder to just be the bad guy of the season. I feel like what they're going for is the Elder is just this kind of crazy vengeance beast, and it had a deal with Falconer, and now the deal got broken accidentally. And so now the Elder is going to possess the Colonel, and it's just going to be, a race to see if they can stop the Elder from bringing angel fire down on everyone.
Right.
That it seems a little simplistic, and funny enough, you and I just recorded an episode on Picard for Superhero Ethics, which will actually go up live tomorrow. And we were talking about our frustration that at the end of that, like that one of the groups becomes just sort of the bad guy without really understanding why they got there and things like that. And it's just being very simplistic. I kind of felt the same here. I really wanted a story where the Elder was sort of on Kovacs and Kel's side, but made Kel kind of have to question like just how much they wanted to support the Elder, and something where it wasn't just so clear like the Elder is now the bad one, no matter how much they're justified. Now we just have to stop the Elder. And maybe we'll get something different in the 8th episode, in the final episode, but certainly this set it up as a fairly basic, you've awakened the ancient power, and now the ancient power is mad at you, and now you have to stop it, which just seems like, for everything that the show had done to make it be that we're now fighting against the Elder, just seems not at all what I wanted.
I hear that. I do. I think that they did do a lot in this episode to make the relationship more complex, and give her, genderless Elderbeast.
Right.
I just call her because of
Hey, Falconer calls the Elder her, so I think we can
did
too.
she? All right.
Yeah.
Well, whatever her preferred pronoun, the Elder is stalking them at the end, but like the showing the scene of the Founders killing, and the I don't know if you caught on, they talked about the symbol and what that symbol meant,
right?
And they say that symbol meant nursery.
Yeah.
And so it's not just that they killed some elders; they apparently wiped out a nursery of elders in that initial sin that caused this thing. So like, this is a pretty awful sin that the Founders have committed, and I totally understand why this Elder is as vengeful and as hateful of humans as she is. I agree with you. I hope that the answer is not just to kill the Elder. That is not what I want. But I don't mind that the Elder is where she is at this point. Like, and I like, it's that fusion of the physical bad guy who's been physical this whole time in Yeager is now being inhabited by the Elderbeast, who is also going to who's kind of the more mythical bad guy. It's something they do in Deep Space Nine,
right.
if you remember, and other shows like that. I enjoy where the Elder is now. I agree. It worries me that they're going to make the ending simplistic, but I don't think so, because you still have the Governor, who is still kicking around, and you still have Harlan somewhere. Like
Right.
her father is still kicking around. Like, there's still more to be explored here. I don't think we're just going to get a fight in the final episode. I think we actually had this same you had a very similar reaction to episode 9 last season, where you were like, I just felt like this should have been the ending, or like, I don't know what they're going to do with this last episode. But last time I think they did a good job, so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that the last episode. I think they did a good
job with everything else. I was still left frustrated that we had yet another fight scene with Ray Lynn. But I don't think, like, I feel like I was wrong at last time, and I think it's certainly possible, and maybe they're going to break the dramatic trope. But I feel like generally, if the idea is that the other creature's going to get mad, but eventually is going to get talked down, and our heroes and this other thing are going to kind of find a way to connect, that connection is going to happen by the end of the second to last episode, and then the last episode is them working together. And so the fact that this episode ends with the Elder going into the Colonel's body, to me, I think you're right. There's a lot of other complexity to go there, but I don't think we're going to get a story of the Elder and our heroes somewhat understanding each other and trying to work together, which is, and it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's definitely what given how much of this has been about the way that humans mistreat the Elder technology, I just feel like there's so much justification for the Elder to be, like, I want to feel myself in a position where I'm rooting for the Elder because of how wrong the Elder has been. And I feel like almost anything I could do that. If the Elder's plan is to use angel fire to literally wipe out every person on the planet, I can't do that. So we'll definitely see. But you're right. There's no way to understand what's going to happen in the last episode, and we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I'm with you though. I completely hope. I'm trusting the show that that's not where they're going. That they're not just going to go with the simple story. But I think you're completely right that if they do that, that is underserving the elders. One interesting thing about the elders we learned this episode, which I found very interesting, was that they were a militaristic species. We just don't know who they were fighting. Was the thing they say. So that's a whole new wrinkle. Like, as far as we understand so far from this show, there's only one alien species that we've heard of, and that's the elders.
Right.
But this alludes to there being another alien species that were somehow the enemies of the elders. So that's like a whole new wrinkle to the mythos of the show.
I mean, yes and no. It can be that. It also can be that the elders were fighting each other.
That's true. Oh, yeah, good point. That's a great point.
Like, if
especially with stack technology and how we've talked about their like sort of the downfall that it can cause in a society. Maybe they just ended up in a species that was full of war. Maybe
right.
if death doesn't matter because your consciousness is being held in a songspire tree, then maybe you just end up fighting each other forever.
And certainly my understanding was, in terms of what you said about the nursery, it's not that this is the last group of elders that was alive, but that it wasn't just the one elder. It was this one elder with a whole bunch of basically children. But again, with the whole thing about the songspire tree being screwed up like that. Instead of what they meant by it being genocide is that they basically like wiped out any potential future for the race.
I think so. I don't know that they said for sure that it was the last. They seem to think it was the last on this planet because they destroy the nursery so that they won't have their charter revoked.
Right.
Now, and they said they did a scan of the surface, but not the depths of the planet. So I guess it's possible that even in this, like, however many, has it been 200 years? I don't know how long they've been. I guess it's been over 300 years.
I think so, yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how well they've searched the rest of this planet. Who knows? There could be another deep down nursery somewhere, or on other planets. As far as we know, we just don't. I don't think we have enough information to know for sure this is the last elder.
Right.
But
that's certainly true.
We do. I think we're kind of presuming that because they haven't ever encountered them again.
Yeah, I think certainly the Yakuza guy whose name I keep forgetting. He believed that it was the last elders. That's why he said this is genocide.
Yeah, that's true.
And certainly we got an awful. Other than my concern there, I loved that. Like, I loved getting to see what the founders did. I loved learning about their motivation. The whole and that this is where the concern between them and the Protectorate starts. Especially because in this regard, the Protectorate seems like not quite as evil. In that it seemed like the Protectorate had some kind of a if we establish that there's alien life here, then we have to go through a whole first contact protocol and try to do it right, and not just let Harlan and the colonizers, exploit the planet. Which clearly the Protectorate is not a great group of people, but it was nice to see them adding a little bit of complexity to them there, and that maybe they're not always terrible in every situation.
Right.
As well as I think this kind of helps set up the tension that's always been there between the Protectorate and the Harlan folks, and why the daughter is pushing back so much now.
Yeah, you also have to think about the fact that it's 300 years ago. It's possible that there were some more protections in place. I didn't even get the sense that in this time they had stacks yet. I may be wrong, but it seems to me that Harlan talks about how he wasted half his life traveling to this planet. I'm assuming he did that in the real as a person. So this is before they had stacks, and so like meths didn't exist yet, and so it's possible.
I think they discovered all that on this planet. So
right, and so the Protectorate may have changed as it became corrupted by the powerful influence of the meths that have lived forever.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, I would love to have that.
Yeah, and I mean, we know the Protectorate pretty early on was being run by people who were in power anyway, like Harlan.
Right.
But it does seem like maybe that corrupting influence has continued to spread with the stratification of the society, with the meths and the rest of everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a good point. So as our resident, I mean, we both are, but as a huge Poe fan, what did you think of his storyline this episode?
Oh, I loved it. He had one of the best lines with the, "It is the impractical things in this tumultuous hellscape of a world that matter most. They help us remember, even in our darkest hour, life is still to be savored."
Yeah, I wrote that down, and I know you did too. I feel like there were two like real, storylines to Poe, both of which we were hoping to see some better resolution with, and one of which we got a cathartic resolution. The other one we got a very painful and hopefully not final resolution. But I felt like Poe's story got so paid off this episode. First, that the scene between him and Kovacs, where, Kovacs says in his Kovacs way, like he never actually says the words "I'm sorry." He never actually says the word, but he clearly acknowledges that he's been bad to Poe, and he says to Poe that he needs him. And the way Poe is able to respond to that, first with the and obviously the other scene I'm talking about is between Poe and Dig, but let's just talk about this one, like that moment where Poe is both able to kind of like talk to Takeshi as an equal. Takeshi says, "Well, I've been really terrible a person. Do we care about family friendly on this podcast?"
I don't think so. I mean, at least, within reason.
Kovacs says, "I've been an asshole." And Poe says, "Yeah, you have." Like, he's not pulling punches there. But then, like, the happiest moment for Poe clearly is when Kovacs says, "I need you to do this and this." And he's able to say once again, "Yes, sir." Because it's not that he's returning to a subservient relationship. He's returning to the relationship that makes him happiest, of being able to serve and to help, but in a way that he knows that he's respected and needed and honored. I teared up at that scene. I just thought it was everything I wanted about how those two needed to connect in a way that would still feel true to them.
Yeah, totally agree. I really, really liked that moment a lot. And just generally, I loved, "You don't have to call me sir." And he's like, "I know I don't have to." Like, it's just, this is who I am and who I choose to be. And he really tries to help Dig sort of self-actualize as well. Now, I think he is trapped in a little bit of like, I want to help you the same way I helped Lizzie. But he also, above that, he tries to explain to Dig that, like,
right,
she can have her own choice and have her own personality and be her own person. Really, just loved it. I loved him, like, sort of coming into his own as an AI with agency and trying to help another AI do the same thing. It's just great.
Yeah. No, I thought that was so good. And so now let's get to that scene with him and Dig, because wow, was that heartbreaking. And like, there are times when things with technology do things that don't make sense and I think are just to serve the story, and they will annoy me. And the way Dig's program was kind of like deprogrammed in this incredible, like almost, Infinity War kind of way of her kind of breaking apart until it's just her face and his hands. Like, the technology of that made no sense, but I didn't care. It was such a powerful, like, heart-wrenching scene of her doing this thing that, like, is the right thing to do. And at least it's not a complete sacrifice. We think there's a way to get her back, but it was such this beautiful moment between them, especially because we'd already had that great moment of, he's been trying so hard to take care of her. He brings her the chicken soup. And like you said, he says that wonderful line. And at first it seems she's kind of rejecting him because she's saying, like, I don't need you to do these impractical things. And then I forget the exact wording, but she says that beautiful line of, well, I don't need those impracticalities to sustain me and to cheer me because I have you. And I'm getting a little teary just repeating it, because I thought that was just such a beautiful moment of her. She's still going to be the very practical. He has a very sentimental side that she doesn't have, but she also really wants to acknowledge, no, I need you. I care for you.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was such a beautiful scene. And that gave what happened to them later so much emotional impact.
Well, and it's a relationship they've had since the very beginning. When he first meets her in that AI room, and then when she kind of follows him home to his hotel, she has the response of, like, you're a strange one. Like, you're like not doing, you're still helping humans. That's the first thing. Like that's weird. And the fact that you care so much, like you care about things that others don't care about, that other AIs don't care about. There's more to you than the sort of rational AI thing that we're all built to do. And I really like, and she's just liked that about him since the beginning. So tying it all into the way the relationship, the thing that she values about him is the thing that he was trying to give her, which with that soup, but she's like, no, that's you. You are my soup, you know?
I'm going to respond to that, but just letting you know, this is off list. I'm hearing a lot of clicking noises. Are you doing a lot of mouse clicks or something in the background?
Oh, a little bit. Sorry.
Okay.
I was deleting and highlighting things that I wanted to talk about next or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was hearing a lot of it yesterday too, so just wanted to let you know it's coming through pretty loud.
You know what it is? It's because you're hearing me through a different microphone than I'm recording with. So,
perfect.
My
then
apologies.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, as long as it's not bothering you to the point that you can't understand me or something.
No, I just want to make sure it wasn't coming through. Okay.
No, it's being recorded, but barely. We're using my computer mic to talk.
So what was the last thing you had said?
You are my soup.
Yeah, it was just such a beautiful moment, and it for a show that is it's kind of like the have you seen Mandalorian?
I have.
On that show, like there's so much darkness and so much grittiness and so much cynicism that Baby Yoda is just this like wonderful breath of fresh air that's kind of a great contrast to the rest of it.
Absolutely.
And I feel that way about Poe right now, because so much of this show is so dark and so cynical, and everyone who loves everyone has to watch them die and has to, go into a different stack and all these terrible things. And I mean, even though it also has this heartbreaking moment, there's just so much like pure joy and sentimentality and just like, just almost kind of like innocence about Poe's feelings for Dig and Dig's feelings for him that it's just such a nice count. I feel like almost in some other shows it would come across as too saccharine, but in this it's just such a perfect counterpoint and such great writing. Yeah,
the show needs that. I kind of wish it tied a little more to the regular storyline. It almost feels like the two storylines are a little separate right now. I mean, they're helping. It's like they're helping the team, but their relationship is all kind of existing in the hotel, and it by nature of who they are.
Right.
But I do. I think it will. I think it will tie together more. Yeah. I think it's just interesting. They've taken the time in this season to really develop this relationship between the two of them and give them this kind of new motivation for both their characters. And I wonder how that will tie to the final episode. I think I said it in a previous episode that I wonder if he will have to make a decision between, helping his new friend or helping Kovacs,
Yeah.
Which in this situation, she made that decision to put herself, spin herself down so they couldn't track them. But
right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Trek taking the Kovacs, the Envoy skin for a ride.
It's Trep. You want to say that again?
I keep saying Trek. I'm not sure. Okay. So let's talk about Trep taking the Envoy for a ride. That sounded all sorts wrong. Let me try that one more time. So let's talk about Trep taking the Envoy sleeve out for a spin. What'd you think of how all that played out?
Man, I liked it for multiple reasons. I like that scene, but it's weird. I don't care that much about fight scenes, but every once in a while one gets me. And, maybe it's because it was interesting to see his sleeve being like driven by another character. And I know that it's a mother trying to save her son. And I just thought that entire thing was fun. And I like the intensity of the battle. It's a super brutal battle. Yeah, I really enjoyed that scene. I don't know why, because it basically was just a fight scene, but I think the motivation of a mother trying to save her child and the sort of tricksiness of her, I wrote down something she said as she walked in. She said, she said, I escaped the circle. I escaped the angel fire. I'm not people.
Yeah.
She can love that line.
And it was like, I remember when we first realized what Trep was going to do, I texted you and was like, okay, let's see just how good an actor Anthony Mackie is. Because now he was going to basically have to play, before he was having to play this character from last season, now he's having to play basically, the Misty Knight character. And I really bought it. You know, there were particular lines and just personality ticks that I
Deliveries,
don't think
yeah.
I've seen in Kovacs that I saw in her. And that line especially, like he has a certain kind of arrogance, but it's not quite like that.
No, no, no.
Um,
He doesn't have the arrogance of just like he doesn't believe his own mythos. You know what I mean?
right.
He believes in his ability to get out of something, but he doesn't ever rely on his own mythos. At least I can't remember a time where he's gone, "I'm the last envoy. You really want to mess with me?" He's just like he almost doesn't want to tout that. He just wants to prove himself constantly. And she's
Yeah.
like using every bit of his mythos to try to convince Danica Harlan to back off. I also
Yeah.
loved that the son, in a sort of a callback to Lizzie, the son recognized his mom.
Yeah. I thought that was a nice moment, and it was a nice parallel because we're learning that the elder is basically a mother being driven by the horror of what happened to her kids, and now we're seeing another mother being very protective of her kids, and
It's
so
a
I thought that was a
great
nice
point.
parallel.
It's a great point,
Um,
and she is actively blowing out a lot of stacks. You know, she's
yeah.
not in there killing sleeves. She's blowing stacks, and yeah, it is a great parallel to what this monster is ready to do. Of course, in vengeance, not so much in protection, which is a little bit of a different motivation. But yeah,
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, I did think that like we've always known that the governor is kind of a terrible person, but like I have trouble believing that that many people are going to be that comfortable killing a child to motivate someone. Like I get that some of the meths are, and of course we've seen that, and there is sort of a knowledge of like maybe he'll survive. He does say like I don't want to die again. Um, but like I don't know, for some reason, especially in that her assistant was so willing to do it too. It rang a little off to me, but and and there was a certain like element of like moving at the speed of plot in like how easily uh this version of Kovacs got in and out of there. But I didn't care that much because you're right. It was such a good scene. Um, I also really liked the. I commented before that I felt like there was this chess match going on between the governor and the colonel, and I feel like this episode we got one more side of that. You know,
agreed.
the
I
governor
texted
now.
you. You said
Yeah,
that, and I texted you checkmate because the governor knows who Yeager is, and that was
yeah,
her using dangling that idea that he could be Yeager again. He could use his name and use his renown to actually get power, and
right.
have his own power instead of just what the Protectorate gives him. She used that to like really motivate him, and I was like, oh well, she just won the chess match,
Yeah.
and now he apparently is gone. It seems like, and
I
he got a lot of character development this episode that kind of wrapped up a lot of his storyline. So I think he might be done for.
Yeah, I think he just did a table flip of a chess match, yeah, I loved his story because I loved at first why he didn't want to work with her because again it goes to the idea of these are not mustache twirlers. He has this powerful loyalty to his soldiers and to his army and to the Protectorate, and the idea that she did all this to fake a war for her own gain, I think it really offends him and it really bothers him, and so of course he doesn't want to help her. And so I loved that, and I really liked the moments between him and in Kovacs Prime, of him really having to. It just seems like he's wrestling with. I think I typed to you at first at some point like it's all father and son issues.
Mm-hmm.
He is a terrible, abusive, horrible father, but is having to come to terms with the fact that he did very much love his sons in his own screwed up way, and Kovacs more than anyone, and that a lot of what happened to Kovacs is his fault. And I think he's reacting in the kind of way a person like that would, where he's very, very defensive and very worried and very threatening. But I think a lot of it's just that he's terrified he's going to fuck up again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and he also he talks about why he cared so much for Kovacs and how he doesn't hate Kovacs. He just feels regretful because he's this soldier that he raised to be better than him and to maybe be his legacy, and then he turned his
Yeah,
back on that. And in this scene where he dies basically, or where he's willing to die and then
right.
eventually does with the elder attacking him, or at least gets taken over, whatever. You can talk about what all that means, but his death, him being willing to die, seems like the thing that maybe actually turns Kovacs Prime, like turns the final screw to like lock him in to loving his father figure and wanting to stay the way he is, stay a servant of the Protectorate or whatever.
Right.
So that was interesting.
I can definitely see that. I could also see it going in very much the other way, as more of like seeing his father as like just as much a victim of the Protectorate. But I liked Kovacs questioning him a lot in this episode. You know, he was really pushing back a lot. So yeah, that is one storyline I'm really excited to see where it gets, how it turns out. What happens with Kovacs Prime?
Yeah, me too. That was interesting when they said all Archaea Logs have medical training. That whole thing, and then they immediately cut to her just looking at the stack.
Yeah,
which I thought was interesting. Like her body's being destroyed. We all have medical training, and then she's just immediately looking at the stack. She's not even worried about the body. Which fits the story of the entire thing. I did
also think it's interesting that we learned what the founders did, but we still don't have any idea what that connects to the Archaea Logs and why they were all killed.
Well, we did hear that the Archaea Logs refused, they protested and refused to continue the digs, and that they were, they knew a lot about the Society of the Elders. And
that's right, yeah.
I think that they either found out what the founders did, or they found out that there were still elders alive, which is another possibility. They say in the that the Songspire trees are a network that copy and store complex information, much like your stacks, in this episode. So I think what we're actually finding out is the culture, and we've talked about this before, but the culture of the elders might still exist in the Songspire trees. Like their consciousnesses might still be there, and these elders were not, or these Archaea Logs were not willing to continue the digs.
Yeah.
Because they knew that it was actually disrupting this culture that they still believed was there.
Yeah, you're right. They answered that more than I had thought. So I think that gives us some tie up of that.
But I do want to know more, because I want to know if there's more elders. Like apparently the Archaea Logs felt like something was worth stopping digging for, worth losing their lives over even. So I do think they haven't fully answered what we want, or what we need to know.
Yeah, we will see. We'll see. I think that's about all I wanted to cover for this episode. Do you have any last things, or then you want to go feedback?
Yeager says he helped Ray because he wanted Kovacs back, which I found interesting, because the whole original sin of Yeager is that he didn't help Ray, and so in this second spin up of Kovacs, he's telling him, I did help Ray. Of course, he helped her to become a murderous monster, but he's still see, I helped her. I know I didn't help her as a girl, but I helped her. Does that get me anything?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if that gets you anything, but it seemed to with Kovacs, though. Kovacs Prime.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a complicated story that spans so many different iterations and different ideas of what helping is.
Yeah. Oh, one thing we didn't mention yet, which I know we mentioned in the chat, is the hubris of Danica. She sees the angel fire and kill all these people, and she knows that Kel has figured out a way to control the angel fire, and instead of going, oh no, we're all screwed, she goes, oh, a weapon I can use. This complete hubris of that is insane.
It is really insane, and it also, I think, and I'm not sure you agree with this, for me it confirmed that she's not her father, because that to me feels like her father, from everything we've learned, seems like he is very ruthless, but also very strategic and very aware of the situation. And that kind of hubris, that to me seems very much like, the child taking over from the parent, because whereas the parent had to really scrape and fight to get to where they are, and has a lot of real understanding of we've got to stay vigilant because who knows when it could all fall apart. The daughter really has this feeling of well, no, of course, if I want that power, I can take it. Now that I know a human can have it, I can have it too.
That's interesting.
Her whole way of dealing with the Archaea Log, the Archaea Log is discovering things, but she is just almost throwing a temper tantrum of no, you have to give me the answer now, or I'm going to blow up your son, as though that would ever motivate anyone. It just, everything about her seemed like an immature person who doesn't actually understand power.
interesting. I also think it could be that she's just a powerful person that's been powerful so long, and just used to getting their way that they just do whatever they want to do, and so used to getting their way for centuries that they're not phased. But you may be right. You may be right. I'm not totally locked into the theory that that she might be her father. The one thing that sort of this episode made me think that it might be true is that she knew Yeager's name. And it made me think, oh, well, that's because she was around when Yeager was kicking around. Like, she might be one of the ones, or he, if it's Harlan, if it's the original Harlan, he might be the one that is, that put, like, one of the ones that made the decision to change Yeager's name.
Right.
That's still the mystery we have on the table. And so I just think it's got to be something. And if it's just he's hiding somewhere, I feel like he's got to have been around, right? Like something's going on with her father.
Yeah, it's. I don't feel this as bad as I felt at the end of last episode because they did wrap up a lot, but I'm still having that. We're going into this last episode with an awful lot of things I want us to resolve, and I think they can pull it off, but I'm kind of bracing myself because it does seem like that Harlan and his daughter story has not gotten anywhere near the attention I would have wanted it to. Because you're right, we haven't gotten any hints about what's happening to Harlan or where he's been this whole time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just have to see.
The only thing that I have written down still is the father missing. We know that Trep's father was killed by Kovacs Prime, and I thought she was going to learn that he had died, but this episode we still don't have her finding that out. And if she finds that out, is she going to be after Kovacs Prime? She didn't seem to have a very good relationship with her father, but still, her father has been killed and her brother has been killed by this elder. So she's got two big beefs to settle.
Right.
And she doesn't even know about one of them yet. So that I think is still going to be part of her story. One episode, man. I'm with you. One episode doesn't feel like enough.
Yeah. And I'm both excited for Friday and I really want to watch it right now. So I'm glad I've got a lot of work I need to get back to. So
yeah, same here. I got 3 podcasts to edit, so
yeah.
Let me get on
Did we
that.
get any feedback?
We do not. No feedback.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap this here now. Just people who are listening, if you've got any fan theories or stuff, you please don't spoil anything if you've already seen the last episode. But if you're watching along with us, love to hear what you think. Maybe we can talk about some of those theories before we watch it or something like that.
Yeah, and if you do have any feedback for next episode, go ahead and send it in to bingerscast@gmail.com, and we'll try to use it in the final episode here. About to finish. Final until the movie, which we're going to try to cover next week, I believe. So yeah, guys, we're looking forward to it. We're Bingers Assemble. We'll be back soon. Peace.
Wash your hands and keep your stack safe.
Cool. Good job, man.
All right. Thank you. You as well.